Board of Commission staff meeting. I'm going to start with the introduction of the dais.
Christy Wischel, Assistant Clerk.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board.
Stephanie Summerall, Dumas Commissioner.
Good afternoon. I'm County Commissioner Denise Driehaus.
Jeff Aludo, County Administrator.
Charlie Ennis, Prosecutor's Office.
And I am Hamilton County Commission Board Chair Alicia Reese. So welcome. We have a number of presentations today. We're going to start with Cradle Cincinnati. And do we have somebody coming forward? Don't be shy, people. Is Cradle here?
Meredith Smith.
Come on up. Cradle Cincinnati. Going once, going twice.
Hi, I am Jessica with Cradle Cincinnati, filling in for Dr. Meredith Shockley-Smith, who will probably run in through the door any moment now. But we are very excited to be joined by our 2023 Champions of Change all throughout the room. Champions for Change is our annual celebration of partners and community members in Hamilton County who are doing really good work improving maternal and infant health in Hamilton County. Each one of these individuals was nominated by a peer, a family member, a coworker for the really fantastic work that they are doing. They were selected amongst a number of nominations that we received this year. I think we received the most nominations we have ever received. So very excited to be celebrating these 6 individuals. And with that, I think I'll hand it over to the commissioners.
Okay, just making sure where my, okay, Meredith, you've already spoken. Let's see, Meredith speaks. Okay, with that, let's go to our honorees. When your name is called, please stand. Here are this year's awardees. First up is the Champion for Better Care, a nurse, midwife, medical assistant, or other provider who cares for women during their pregnancies. Our Champion for Better Care is Beth Smith. Let me read this. Beth serves as a nurse home visitor with Every Child Succeeds. In her more than 3 years in this position, Beth has served clients from a diverse set of backgrounds, from those with complex physical or mental health conditions to those experiencing intellectual delays or social adversities. Beth's hallmark is her personalized approach, making sure to deeply understand her clients and tailoring nursing plans to the healthiest outcomes. Beth's work is defined by collaboration, compassion, commitment, and creativity. She collaborates with school counselors to address homelessness and food insecurity. She empowers moms to advocate for themselves and their children during healthcare visits and when confronted with housing concerns. She actively participates in care team meetings in support of her clients and to better understand the conditions they face. And she is flexible with her time when an urgent need arises. Day in and day out, Beth demonstrates her unwavering commitment of supporting all mothers in our community. Congratulations, Beth. Still on me, okay. Next is the Safe Sleep Campaign, an individual working to promote, where are we at?
Champion.
Oh, next is the Safe Sleep Champion, an individual working to promote safe sleep for babies in Hamilton County. Remember, babies sleep safest alone, on their back, and in a crib. Our Safe Sleep Champions are Tara and Charlie Peace. Dynamic duo. When we say your name, step up here so the people can see you. We got to see you on camera. There you go. Okay, now give them a great round of applause. Okay. All right. Tara and Charlie created the Laura Elizabeth Peace Memorial Golf Outing 28 years ago in loving memory of their daughter, Laura Elizabeth Peace, who was tragically lost to sudden infant death syndrome when she was 3.5 months old. Since then, they have raised more than $750,000 for medical research, SIDS awareness, and safe sleep efforts. That deserves a big round of applause. God bless you. During the past 28 years, these funds have provided 65,000 back-to-sleep onesies, more than 1 million pieces of safe sleep educational literature, more than 760 cribs to new mothers, and supported medical research at Boston Children's Hospital and Cincinnati's Children. Their commitment and dedication to help other families has already impacted our small corner of the world. In the past 20-plus years since their daughter passed away, there have been no SIDS deaths in the Wyoming community. Congratulations, Tara and Charlie. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I am delighted to be here in recognition of all of you and of Cradle's good work in the community, saving lives every day. I'm delighted to announce our Champion for Healthy Families, which is a community health worker or home visitor who supports families during and after pregnancy in getting the resources and information they need to raise successful and thriving children. This year, we have 2 champions for healthy families. Our first winner is Latia Jackson. Where's Latia? Yeah. Would you please come on up to the podium so people can see you? There we go. All right, very good. Latia is a home visitor with Pathways to Home.
Thank you.
Latia's extensive experience in her role shines through her ability to truly connect with, listen to, and understand the needs of the families she serves. Going above and beyond, she tirelessly seeks out and provides resources tailored to the unique needs of each of her families. During Latia's home visits, she empowers families to take charge of their health by encouraging them to reach out to their doctors with medical questions. Moreover, she ensures families are on top of their children's health care by helping them keep track of and attend their well child checkups. Latia's advocacy extends to a variety of health topics, from breastfeeding and nutrition to the importance of prenatal care. Beyond her role as a home visitor, Latia is a member of Every Child Succeeds board, where she collaborates with community partners to identify essential programs that are needed and existing programs that are available for families in our area. Latia was once a participant in Every Child Succeeds herself and has overcome barriers to be the role model that she is today. She brings that achievement to her current role, empowering families to break through their own obstacles. Congratulations, Latia. All right, and our second champion for healthy families is Shira Williams. Come on up. As a home visitor with Co-Stars, Shira has a unique ability to reach and connect with clients from diverse backgrounds and cultures. What sets her apart as a home visitor is her commitment to learning, growing, and becoming the best version of herself so she can in turn inspire the families she works with to do the same. Recognizing the relationship between child and parent well-being, she supports parents in overcoming past challenges and setting goals for their future. In doing so, the families she works with can feel her genuine belief in them. In the past year, Shira played a pivotal role in organizing parent cafes in partnership with the Gamble Nippert YMCA in Westwood. I used to go to that YMCA. I need to come back. This group allows parents to come together to discuss parenting issues and strategies, and importantly, create a community of support. Beyond her current work, Shira is also developing a book and webinar focusing on co-parenting. Her success in working with families has inspired her to create this free and valuable resource for the community. Congratulations, Shira.
Next is a community activist champion, a member of the community that listens to, celebrates, and actively supports and nurtures their work while keeping moms at the center. Our community activist champion is Rael Wilhite. Rael is a clinical social worker who stands as a tireless advocate for the well-being of our community. Her work plays an incredibly important role in bridging the gap between mental health services and law enforcement. Rael strives to educate and sensitize law enforcement officers about the complexities of mental health crises, emphasizing that a compassionate and informed approach can make a significant difference in the outcome of these situations. By advocating for better training and collaboration between mental health professionals and law enforcement, Rael addresses the barriers of misunderstanding and resistance that often persist. Her contributions in the world of mental health have undoubtedly created a lasting positive impact to Hamilton County. Congratulations, Rael. So now unto the champion for equity, an individual who recognizes and addresses the disadvantages of marginalized groups and how it leads to health disparities and maternal outcomes. Our champion for equity is Dr. Angelica Hardy.
Angelica.
Angelica. Oh, you're an angel, and I messed it up. I apologize. Thank you. As Vice President of Community Impact for the American Heart Association, Dr. Hardy spearheads initiatives that address hypertension, e-cigarette and tobacco use, healthy food access, and maternal and infant vitality in our region. She aims to make Greater Cincinnati the most equitable and healthy community in the United States, and does so by engaging with community organizations and neighborhood coalitions to identify their health wellness priorities. Over the years, maternal and infant health has become a priority for Dr. Hardy. Recently, the American Heart Association has been presented with opportunities to dive deeper into her work and ensure that moms are empowered with the support of their care network to bring a healthy baby in the world. So it's so important. Dr. Hardy is currently the only Black woman on staff at the American Heart Association. You see how I kind of went down because I'm thinking about these healthy babies and how important it is. So, and I know you all know, so, which is important to recognize, especially in work that has traditionally been overseen by white counterparts. Within the first 6 months of her hire, the world stopped, and the organization, like many others, was unprepared for the immense changes that would come. Several staff members left. However, it was an opportunity for Angelica to hit the reset button and challenge the pre-existing strategies that were in place, knowing that things would look different coming out of the pandemic. Dr. Hardy has more capacity to continue doing this work she loves most, advocating for her community and guiding her team with passion and persistence. Congratulations, Dr. Hardy.
Thank you. We should take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we all gather for a photo for the award winners? Come up here. Come on up. Come on up. We'll go put you right back here, next to the flags. think I got everybody. I got everybody right here. Christy's getting the last chair out. All right, right here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Thank you, ladies. Okay.
Right here. 3, 2, 1. Over there. 3, 2, 1. Got you guys?
All right, and let's look over here now to this side. Perfect. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We do have Judge Wagner on the agenda. I think he's still in a hearing. So as soon as he comes, we will get to that. But we need to keep moving. I hate to get deep in this conversation, and the judge, does anybody touch base? On his way. Do we have anything else? Like,
They said.
on his way? Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess, if y'all are okay with that. Because I don't want to get in this other subject matter. There's a lot of questions on this next subject matter. So let's take a 5-minute recess, and hopefully by then the judge will be able to join us. Everybody good with that? All right, 5-minute recess. We are back in session. The judge has arrived and was on a docket. And I want to thank you, Judge Wagner, for joining us. Have you go up to the dais to make your presentation. And we're talking about the Veterans Services Commission. And Judge Wagner, if you introduce yourself and we'll explain why you're here as it relates to this important issue. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Reese. Thank you, fellow commissioners, and Mr. Aludo, for giving this opportunity. Despite beliefs that judges are walled off from all society, we occasionally watch news accounts. So I'm somewhat familiar with what has been going on, but I appreciate the opportunity the three commissioners are giving us so I could publicly, on behalf of the Hamilton County Court of Common Pleas, explain with regards to the Veterans Service Commission what role the courts have. And by way of introduction, I'm Judge Christopher Wagner. I'm the presiding administrative judge of the Court of Common Pleas. And so it's my responsibility to go ahead and speak on behalf of the court. So by way of explanation, judges and courts have restrictions on how they can act, on what they can say, and that is regards to the Judicial Code of Conduct, a very strict rule regarding our professional interactions and responsibilities. And this is for the specific purpose to maintain faith in our court system, and our justice system, and our impartiality. I say that for two important reasons. One, on appointments made to the Veterans Service Commission, there is case law in Ohio specifically stating that the court must act within the Judicial Code of Conduct, even with regards to an appointment. And secondly, the court is aware that there is a case pending in the Court of Common Pleas, and one of the parties is the Veterans Services Commission. That case is not assigned to me, but it is restricting on what our court can say with regards to it. And I should, by all means, I didn't come over here to pontificate, so if anyone has any questions, you can cut me off, you know. Usually that doesn't happen to me across the street, but you guys, I guess, could do it here. But by way of explanation, the statute that we're operating under that gives the court the appointment powers is a longstanding statute going back into the 19th century, all right? It was given to the courts to avoid appearances of politics or impropriety, and that was far more common back in the day for things like this to be given to the courts of common pleas. But under the statute, we don't just randomly pick individuals. We publicly post, which the court has done this, soliciting applicants. However, the applicants come from different veteran services groups. Now, there is 2 seats that the court needs to make an appointment in early January. 1 seat is with AMVETS, all right, and the court made public notice. We were receiving applicants. I believe we received 2 applicants so far. The court is aware that there's another candidate that is interested. However, these names are put forth from AMVETS. Additionally, I believe there's an unexpired term, and it comes from the Korean War Vets Veterans Group. We received 1 name with regards to those court, and that is pending. Again, to clarify, we can receive, the groups can give us up to 3 names, all right? Now, what discretion the court has with regards to these appointments is rather limited. If, for whatever reason, a veterans group does not submit a name, the court has the ability to go ahead and make an appointment. And Mr. Bill Fraley was appointed previously, I believe, to the Korean War veterans seat on the commission, and that was because those groups had not submitted a name to the court. Now, this happened some while ago. Mr. Fraley is a veteran, and the court subsequently appointed him, and that's the seat that he's serving on. But that's the only real discretion that we have, especially with regards to groups only giving us historically 1 name, not much to choose from. However, being quite aware of what's going on, and the fact that now we anticipate there may be multiple candidates, I've reached out to my colleagues on the Common Pleas bench to look for volunteers. It is our intent to sit down and meet with all the candidates that have submitted their applications to us via these veterans groups, and we will go ahead and ask some questions about what they intend, how they intend to operate, and we will make an appropriate appointment. As I said, I think January 15th, and because of the notice requirements, the Korean War veterans, I think, is a week later in January, but we will be doing that. I've already gotten a few volunteers for some of the judges. Needless to say, an interview process or screening process with 22 common pleas judges is probably not very pleasant for all parties involved, so we're going to go ahead and skip that and just go ahead and have a select few and make a recommendation to the rest of the body. But that at least is our intent as it is right now, that we're operating under. I hope that has some clarification for the court's role on this. Is there any questions?
Yes, first of all, Judge, thank you for being here. I want to just, because I know you broke it down in a lot of areas, I want to take a step back. Number one, how many people are on the Veterans Commission that you appoint?
I believe it's 5.
Okay, it's 5. And then you indicated as the judge, as it's written in the state law, it tells you what wars they can be from. Am I correct?
Yeah, which veterans groups, basically what names could be submitted come from the veterans group. And if they exercise that, as in the case that for this year, for these two appointments, the expired term, the unexpired term. They provide us a name, and then we have to act upon the names given to us. All right. And so that they have done that. And those are set by state law, by the legislature. And that's, we're governed. Now, I am aware that there is a proposed legislation in the General Assembly. The Common Pleas judges across Ohio are watching this, because it's not just here in Hamilton County, it's each one of the 88 counties that we exercise this authority. And any sort of a clarification for what our role, we'd be glad to do that. I should add that we have the appointment power. We also have the removal power. And normally that is handled by the state with regards to the Veterans State Organization with regards to credentialing, et cetera. In the past, if there had been an issue, they would notify the courts of a lapse and request that we would act on that. We, of course, dependent upon them notifying us, doing an appropriate investigation. So tying on to, that historically, we have to act within judicial code, so we don't do investigations, okay? We don't go ahead and look into issues, but if something presented, we would have to act. We have the authority on it, but we would need something appropriate done by an outside body. We're not suited for fact-finding on any issues.
Gotcha. I just wanted for people watching what your authority is within the state law. It tells you what groups they make the recommendation to you. A lot of times they give one recommendation. Maybe this time they give two. So it's not like, I want people watching so people say, well, I'm a veteran. Where's my applications at? It's not a, go to our website and put your application in. You have to go through the various veteran groups that have already been identified by state law. And then if they give you only one person, you go with the one person. The time when you would have more discretion, if they gave you 3 or 4 people, then you would go into an interview process, right?
Correct. So again, if no names are submitted, that we would go off and look for a candidate. If it's one name and they meet the requirements for credentialing, there's appears to be no discretion whatsoever the court would have. In this case, and I should note, it's up to 3 names per veterans group. And again, so what role do we take? When this was coming out, we issued some statements. We tried to make sure the word came out that if you are an interested veteran and you meet the requirements, go reach out to AMVETS, go reach out to Korean War, submit your name. They can go up to 3. Some of the judges will sit down and talk with them, and we'll try to the best that we could, pick the best candidate for the commissions.
Thank you for the clarification. Vice President Driehaus.
I just have one question. I don't know if you are going to know the answer to this, so I apologize in advance. But as you make these appointments, are they rotating appointments, and how long are the terms?
They are rotating. Again, there was a resignation, an early resignation, so it's an unexpired time. I'd have to go look at the past records to know which one's coming up. Now, I do believe that Bill Fraley was in the Korean War veterans because that group had not previously submitted a name, and that's how that came about. And that's why we have and because of a resignation from the AMVET seat, that's why that one is coming up as an unexpired term.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge, for accepting my invitation to come here and clarify for the board. I appreciate that, considering your schedule. Just a couple questions.
Sure.
Financially, who has oversight of their budget once they receive the money and they decide to spend the money? Is there financial oversight?
Financial oversight, if anything, doesn't come from the court. We don't have that. It comes to the commission as any other county agency would, that this body. Now, then you're going to ask me really deep questions about state financing, and I'm quickly going to get confused. But, there is, I'm sure, pass-through funds coming from the state. But no, the Court of Common Pleas does not have any review process with regards to the budget, any review process on how those monies are spent. That is not within the court's authority. That lies solely with, venture with two organizations would be this county commission for the dollars and what oversight the state gets through the Veterans Department. And of course, I think that's part of the proposal in the legislation is to give the Veterans Department more oversight of these groups and less for the court's appointment.
And the other legislation that's being discussed is to try to get younger soldiers part of this board. So it goes back to Vietnam and whatever's not included in this ORC. You're trying to get other veterans in there.
Without really venturing an opinion on what's being proposed by the legislature, it does seem that there's a little disconnect between the younger veterans. Persian Gulf on. We do run a veterans court, and there is some generational differences that we've noticed with regards to services with the younger vets that we try to. Through our service options, working with the VA, helping veterans who are charged with crime and help them get some stability. As I should note, as is required under Ohio law, judges with regards to criminal sentencing must take an individual's veterans experience and their veteran status into consideration for purposes of sentencing. So this is definitely the policy of the state of Ohio is to help veterans, even if those who have run afoul of the law.
Okay. And also we had discussed as a board the possibility of an ombudsman for this commission. And so what's your thought about that, just in general, from the board? I see a smile.
Well, at the abundance of caution, in case someone were to contest the appointment of an ombudsman, that lawsuit would land across the street in our court. So I think I'll have to remain silent on that one.
Okay, and can you, I'm looking at the interpreters, can you say that once again?
Well, if that, I don't know if there's an easy direct answer for what extent the commission's oversight, what's the zenith, what's the outer band of the commission's authority versus not. The commission isn't a legislative body, that's coming by state law. So if it were challenged, the appropriate avenue or venue for such a legal challenge would be the Court of Common Pleas General Division. And since I'm a member of that body, I don't think I could put an opinion.
Okay, and then I think my final comment is when you and I talked, we talked about future events that may come forth. Can you speak to that at all? I know the clerk of court, Pavin, had sent out some information.
Sure. Glad to. So there has been discussion prior to all this coming about. Again, I noted that under Judge Terry Nestor, he's the presiding judge for our Veterans Court, which is a veteran-specific diversion and treatment program for veterans, and there is a corresponding docket on municipal court as well, and we do provide services, and we do have a pretty good track record. Well, there was Pavin Preek had reached out, seen some of these, I guess you would say, going out in the community, trying to raise awareness, cooperating with the VA, other state bodies to make sure, and nonprofits, and making sure veterans know this is out there. But as opposed to waiting to be contacted, going out in the community, raising awareness on that. Mr. Parikh had participated. I think, I believe Prosecutor Missy Powers was at it as well as Judge Nestor. And they saw it, and it was in northern Kentucky. So obviously Hamilton County, we don't have a lot of authority across the river. To be clear, we have no authority. But it was a good model, and we would like the opportunity to go ahead and go forward with it, and making sure veterans know that these services are out there, and that we listen. So that we're definitely moving forward with that. And there's a couple folks who've already proffered up possible venues. So, and I mean, I'm gonna let the clerk take the lead on that one, since he's more intimately aware of it, but he will certainly have the backing of our court.
It sounds like that discussion started about 6 months ago.
Oh,
What I could read.
yeah, I think it was late. It was in the summertime that he started putting plans together for that.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Judge. I want to indicate again, what's the role of your court on this?
We make-
Appointments you don't. I just want to say this because there's a lot of folks that want to get on this board, and we bringing you here, and they're gonna say, "Can I give you my resume? Can you take a resume from a veteran and put them on the board, or do you have to go with the AMVETS and all these other groups to tell you who they want on the board?"
Right. You have to, all interested veterans need to come through the different veteran organizations, and AMVETS, Korean War, Vietnam veterans organizations, just a few of them. So if you're interested, and we certainly want to hear more voices, contact those groups. Make sure you're in good standing with the groups and get it in. There's still time for submission of applicants. I think it's at the end of the month. So please, and we'll put out a clarification on the dates. We'll do a press release with that, just to make sure that it's known and I didn't misspeak. How about that?
But a lot of times in the past, the thing has been they give you one name, and if it meets the requirements,
That's correct.
we still stay with the status quo of that organization, because if they don't, you said in the past, they've given you a lot of times one name,
One name.
and they have to meet 1, 2, 3, and they meet 1, 2, 3, then you have to say approved.
Correct.
The other thing I wanted to bring out, since we were talking about lawsuits, and I know you said you're talking about a possible lawsuit, but nothing's been filed. But what I can tell you that
Well, there.
no, you were talking about the ombudsman.
Oh, yeah,
There's been no lawsuit on the ombudsman, so I want to clear that up. However, there has been a lawsuit calling for racial discrimination from the Veterans Services, and the quote it had on here: "A roach has more respect." So there has been lawsuits already filed on racial discrimination with this organization. So I don't want it to get confused with, oh, if you do an ombudsman, you might get sued. We sued right now. These people are suing, and they're out here screaming. So if we're gonna get into lawsuits, then we got to look at the suit that's already been filed. And there may be others, because you're in the courts, a lot longer than ours. But there is a suit. There is no suit on the ombudsman, but there is a suit on some veterans who feel like a roach has more respect than they had. So I want to deal with what we're really dealing with, not what could be. And then as far as facilities, I don't know. I don't want to get in a facility fight, because we got a lot of facilities that we own, and I know that's not your role. But I did want to highlight. I know you can't talk about these things because they're pending lawsuits, but there is a lawsuit that has been filed on an issue of discrimination with that organization, and I'm sure it'll play its role out in the courts.
And if you can indulge me for one moment, Commissioner Reese, a lawsuit is simply an allegation. And nothing has been determined by either a fact finder or under the law. So there is a pending matter before one of our judges, not myself, but one of our judges, and it will be treated appropriately and fairly with all the parties involved.
Yeah, thank you. No, I just wanted to highlight that because it was brought up. If we do an ombudsman, could there be a lawsuit? And you comment on could there be a lawsuit. I wanted to show that there has been a lawsuit. And as you said, the allegations have to play its way out in the courses.
Right. Well, thank you for this
And I
opportunity.
just wanted to comment, we don't have an ombudsman, so we don't
Right.
have a lawsuit. So as I answer my questions, I know that was consideration of the possibility, and just wanted to get your opinion of where you were, which you did not give a lot of opinion because it may come to you, but there is no lawsuit for those who are listening because we do not have an ombudsman. But I just wanted to ask the question of where you thought we would be.
And on the last thing, since we do have a lawsuit, not to say that particular case, but you said there'll be grounds that y'all can say that something needs to be looked at over there. Who makes those decisions?
Well,
Your court, because we are the impasse with this group.
Well,
And that's why we're here today. We wouldn't have a problem if they were just doing what they.
Well, it's my understanding the Department of Veteran Affairs has oversight, especially on credentialing. I would venture a guess that if it's involving state dollars, the state auditor always has jurisdiction to look into on any complaints. And that's the state auditor's job, either for purposes of performance or other allegations. And that's that office's job, right? To be distinguished, that's not our auditor's job. The state auditor has investigative powers. It's up to that office to exercise them, and I couldn't comment on it. In fact, that is That's what they could do. So there is additional options from the state if they wish to look into, in addition to what's been raised to this commission or the courts.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions? Well, we have the judge for 5 more seconds.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Appreciate it so much. Thank
for
you.
coming over. All right. Now we will go to Mr. Aludo. And subject matter is Paycor Stadium. Mr. Aludo.
Thank you, commissioners. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. I think Christy is going to pull up. There we go. So, commissioners, first of all, thank you for the time today to talk about this matter. As the board is aware, our lease with the Cincinnati Bengals expires, at least the first term of it expires in 2026. As ultimately as directed and as guided by the Board of County Commissioners, we expect to enter into substantive discussions with the team next year on a new renegotiated lease and an extension of that lease in an effort to keep the team here for the foreseeable future. As we talk about as we get into those lease discussions, one of the elements of that discussion is going to be a conversation about ultimately the renovation of Paycor Stadium and ultimately the transformation of that stadium. And as we move in, we will also want to make sure that as we move into those discussions, we also want to make sure that the ultimate lease that we wind up with is one that reflects the market, both in terms of the deal points of that lease and the market in terms of the how the renovations are carried out within the stadium. So, here we go. As the board is aware, the county approves the annual capital plan for Paycor Stadium every year. So we do a prescribed amount of capital in the stadium on an annual basis. And those are typical items: waterproofing, basic capital items, waterproofing, basic capital maintenance necessary just to operate the stadium. The board received back in April of 2022 a facility condition assessment that indicated that the stadium is by and large in very good condition, especially when you consider other stadiums that were built around its time. For example, the stadium down in Nashville, Tennessee, and others that were built around this time that found themselves in not so good condition. You'll recall the architect from Gensler, who was here presenting the facility condition assessment, indicated that the bones of the stadium are good. But that being said, this is a large asset, and the facility condition assessment that the board received at that time identified close to $500 million in capital work through 2042 that would have to happen just to keep the stadium up to speed and relevant from an infrastructure perspective. So everything from mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, structural repairs, technology, accessibility would all need to be improved over those essentially 20 years. In addition to other improvements that would be added to make the stadium a much broader transformation of the stadium from a fan and a public perspective. So the county, as we enter discussions on this, commissioners, and as the county and the team have been discussing ways to ensure that the stadium is well maintained in advance of the pending long-term renovation plan and the new lease discussions. One of the things that we have talked about and we've talked with the board about is the desire that as we enter into these discussions next year with the hope and the anticipation that we will conclude these discussions next year, that depending upon how long the discussions take us, that we didn't want to miss the 2024 construction window, that we have work to do in the stadium. The facility condition assessment has outlined work that needs to be done, and we didn't want to miss and leave a big gap in a construction window and not have made progress on the stadium in the off season of 2024. Recognizing that the team itself has invested approximately $32 million in stadium projects over the past 18 months, which, as the board is aware, is the largest investment by the team since the stadium opened in August of 2000. Just a bit more information on the projects that the Bengals have implemented at Paycor. So everything from the indoor practice facility to work on concessions, video, LED ribbon boards, stadium signage, network switches, VIP field lounges, work in the pro shop, suite updates, lounge updates, etc. I'm just going to flip through a couple of images here to show you some of this. And with apologies to the development of this, we had a video, but I wasn't able to get the video on it as well. We'll follow up with the board on that. But you see, this is just some videos from, images from inside Paycor, the team recovery and training spaces, upgraded concession stands, the east sideline bar. So you can see these are a lot of the improvements that the team has put into the stadium reflect a lot of the fan experience element of the stadium. The new digital LED ribbon boards, you can see in this graphic where those are located in the stadium as well. So as the team had put those dollars in, we also had begun discussions with the team about, as we move into our discussions with the team in 2024, having the county put forward a commensurate amount of funding to address infrastructure projects within the stadium, primarily some of those projects that are identified as year 1 through 5 priorities in the facility condition assessment, all in the context of a comprehensive renovation plan that would be forthcoming. So we know that we have a much larger slate of projects to come as a part of the larger renovation plan, but to at least get started on this, to keep the stadium in good shape and to make sure we don't miss that construction window. The discussion was of the county doing some of the infrastructure projects identified in the FCA, or facility condition assessment, and that would include, if my clicker will work here, things like replacing and upgrading lighting control systems, the building management system, which is the system that controls all of the HVAC and access control and vertical transportation within the stadium. Update controls on deep well pumps that are flooding prevention items within the stadium. Freight elevator upgrades, upgrades and replacement of the club seats that have been there for 23 years. So you can see a lot of these are heavy infrastructure items, replacement of a lot of the video infrastructure and the AV infrastructure within the stadium. Looking at a vertical transportation study, because we've had issues from time to time with some of the vertical transportation, elevators, escalators, etc. Those are long lead time items to address. So just getting started with a study on that in preparation for the longer renovation plan. Looking at accessibility and making sure that from a handicap accessibility and compliance perspective, that we're doing everything we can in the stadium to make sure that it can be enjoyed by every resident of the county and every individual coming through the stadium. 3D mapping of the stadium, just so we have those plans and the stadium imaged for the long term, as well as looking at the scope and timing of future field replacement at the stadium. So just walking through a few of those. And I'm not going to go through all of them by any stretch of the imagination. But for instance, one of the items, and I don't think I really hit it in the first slide, is talking about accessibility in the plaza at Paycor Stadium. So anyone who's been to a game, been to a concert at Paycor, you're probably very familiar with this scene on the northeast side of the stadium. I believe that's Gate D, where if you're getting there for the game or if you're leaving the game, there is this bottleneck of individuals at the stadium gate. So the idea would be to address that through an expansion of that, or an extension of the plaza at Elm Street to, number one, provide additional room so that bottlenecking does not occur, as well as making sure that it is better connected with the banks as you move eastward. Some other things, talked about the upgrade and replacement of the displays and cabling within the stadium. Some of those are very small at this point, and the wiring and the cabling is not up to the modern standards. So we would want to replace all that the cabling, the wiring, as well as some of the outdated LED screens, as well as the outdated Marshall Faulk jersey. We also would be looking at the replacement of the club seats and waterproofing of the area under those club seats, and a lot of other infrastructure items. Again, I mentioned some of this: the lighting control systems, the building management system, the deep well pumps, freight elevators, field assessment, vertical transportation. I went through some of these a little bit earlier. So that would be the idea, would be the county investing in a commensurate amount of funding for projects in the 2024 off-season, bleeding into 2025 probably, in the context of a large-scale renovation plan that will be mapped out within the lease discussions that we are having with the team next year. Also, and the idea would be to memorialize this through an MOU between the team and the county, establish the county's commitment as part of a broader investment, which is inclusive of team funding. The team invested roughly $32 million towards items that are primarily fan experience related. The county would invest a commensurate amount in infrastructure related items, but that we start to set and memorialize the idea that the county's funding is one stream of funding into a broader funding and renovation plan, and also to recognize and memorialize the need for a multifaceted funding and financing plan for the long-term renovation. As this board has said publicly and frequently, that the ultimate funding plan for the transformation of Paycor Stadium in the long term of Paycor Stadium needs to be something that is multifaceted, draws upon multiple sources of funding, be that team funding, league funding, funding from other levels of government, state, et cetera, as we have seen occur in other communities that have recently reached new deals on the future teams in their jurisdiction in professional sports, be it the NFL, Major League Baseball, et cetera. So the idea would be to bring forward an MOU. I've given the board a draft of that MOU and a resolution to put this into place to allow this to move forward. The next steps would be approval of that MOU. So we wanted to present it to you today. I've gone through some of the highlights of it in the last slide. Again, the projects would be implemented through the start of the 2024-25 season. We have a project that is kind of the leading edge of this, that involves the club seats, because that's probably the longest lead time project that we have in this slate of projects, that we could bring by leave on the December 14th agenda, as soon as the December 14th agenda. And then in 2024, as we design and plan those other projects, they would be brought forward incrementally as we plan those, as we design them. The financing plan would ultimately involve a cash advance with a potential note issuance, and integrating that into a long-term, into a debt issuance associated with the long-term renovation plan. We've had some discussion on this concept in some recent board meetings, and to answer that those questions that were raised, yes, we would be looking at rolling these projects into a longer-term debt issuance. It may be financed initially, advanced with cash, then into a note, and then ultimately into a long-term debt issuance. So that's the general idea, commissioners, is to partner with the team, recognizing the capital investment that the team has made very recently, as we get into these discussions, to do it in a way of partnership, so that we are jointly maintaining the stadium, both from a fan experience and an infrastructure perspective, at the same time while we're memorializing some concepts that have been important to the board, and that is making sure that the funding system, the long-term funding plan, is a multifaceted funding plan, making sure that we recognize that team and other partner contributions would be necessary as we move forward in this. And also, I didn't mention this as much, also to memorialize the capital delivery project as well, and make sure that we understand that as we move forward on this, because there are different models of this throughout the league, but that we memorialize the fact that we are moving forward in a way that has the county directly overseeing the construction on what is, in fact, a county-owned asset. So with that, commissioners, I'm happy to answer any questions for you on this, on the MOU or on any of the projects, et cetera. So Commissioner Reese, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start with this. I'm not happy about the direction that we're going in terms of how we are negotiating. And it's not on the Bengals side, but it's on our side. This piecemeal approach, where we get the information, like we're getting it today and you want something voted on Thursday, at a time when I want to look at the county in a holistic way. Might not be the most popular, maybe in this room, but it's popular out in the voters. And I wanted us to make sure that what we're putting forward, for example, today you're bringing a $39 million MOU deal to fix some of the upgrades of the stadium. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. My problem is your timing. If you go back to my YouTube Hamilton County tapes here, when we were doing the 30% rebate, because it's all about the same money, I said give the homeowners a 30% break they were promised, which would have been $30 million. I indicated that we could do a bond on the $37 or $39 million. So that would have freed up the cash to help the homeowners. And boy, was I fought like crazy. How dare I have an idea? How dare I come up with something that makes sense? So what you did was give us the rebate by itself. And then we went into, oh, we're broke, we can't do it, we only can do 12%. And then you waited to after December 1st, we voted on that. And now you come back with the same deal I asked for, which is put it in a bond note. But you do it after we done only gave the homeowners 12%. Now we can't have this double talking going on with the homeowners. We could have done both. I'm always looking for a win-win. But you didn't bring it. You brought it today after we done voted on December 1st, never mentioning this. And I said on December 1st that you're going to be back in a couple weeks with a $30 million plus deal for the Bengals upgrade of their stadium, keeping the promise. And today we're going to be told, oh, we got to do it. It's in the contract. It's in this. We've got to do it. It's not what I want to do, but we got to do it. It's in here. But also in here, this says that we have a property tax rebate. So I'm just upset that we didn't get the best deal for both people at the table. The homeowners could have got $30 million going back to the homeowners, and we still could have did $39 million because you just said you're going to do it in a bond note, meaning you're going to pay it back over time with interest. So number one, I don't kind of like doing stuff like this. This piecemeal approach is not in the best interest of the taxpayers. We could have had a win-win deal walking out of here, and everybody would have had a nice Christmas. Not just one group got a nice Christmas, and the rest of the people in 30 days going to have a big bill to pay with their property taxes. So I'm just not happy. I know that the law does not allow us to talk individually to each other. But a deal like this, where you're talking about bonding and a note, and then being able to free up that cash for the homeowners, that's a 50,000 foot type of conversation that needed to be had. So I want to acknowledge that I'm not happy about that, because I'm looking for a win for the taxpayers and a win for the Bengals, but not leaving the taxpayers behind. Number two, Gensler was hired before I even was elected. And they came in here and they did couple of PowerPoints and told us we got some bones that are okay. But we still don't have the final deal. Now, I asked for one or two things, but even the deals that they were supposed to put together before I got here, I have not received. And they got paid. And I'm not paying people to do no dog and pony show and go away. This should be in the context of the overall deal. This should be in the context of what it is in the overall deal. So my attention is paid to the memorandum, not the PowerPoint. Yes, fix those things up, no problem. But now we got to look at what does the paperwork say. And you gave us a draft, and you said that their MOU has been changed over 5 or 6 times over the years. We're going to amend it again. On here, item number 6. You indicated in item number 6 that the county and the team have determined that certain capital repairs and maintenance should be performed in 2023, which is now, and 2024 in order to keep the stadium in good repair as the county and team continue to work toward a large-scale stadium renovation and team and county long-term agreement, which I'm for. We got to go long-term. But you put on here, they came back and said they don't want to do no long-term. They want to use the word extended agreement. Well, we know in their contracts they get, 5 extensions to keep the same type of deal? So I'm concerned about extended agreement versus a long-term agreement. I think you were right in putting it in there, but they don't want it. Then you go to your contract here, and you said the range would be the 39 million. We want to do that in case it's over, but it's really 36 to 37. But let's do 39 in case there's some overruns. You identify what this team has put into the building, but I'd like to have in the memo, what has the taxpayers put into the building? If we're responsible for 96% of the cost, I'd like to have some acknowledgement for the taxpayers that have been putting, because we've been voting every week. And I know before I was voting, come here, y'all were voting as well. But every week we got something. I think it was a sauna room or something. We need to get some credit for that. We need to know, what did the taxpayers pay? You got what they paid, but what has the taxpayers paid over all these years to keep the place up and going? Because the taxpayers, we have voted on stuff to keep it going. On here, you also have at the bottom that the number 14 would say, by executing this memorandum of understanding on behalf of the county, County Administrator Luyo represents and warrants to the team that he is duly authorized to execute this memo and bind, key word, bind. Now, why would they want to use the word bind us? We bind the county. I'm saying the taxpayer wanted us to bind their 30%, but bind the county to its terms and conditions. And the county and the team agree that the MOU, back to this word, is binding. But with the homeowners, ain't nothing binding. We're going on a handshake and a smile, and we're going to try to help you out. But they want it to be binding. And so binding is used twice. And there's a reason that binding is used twice. Just like I feel that the homeowners should have some binding, because they can't trust us, because we ain't doing it on our own unless it's binding. So my questions go to, this is something that you're looking to get done on Thursday. We've done this MOU multiple times. They have concern about the word long-term agreement, and that makes me skeptical. They want just extended. Is this what you, this your handwriting?
Yeah, no, Commissioner,
Yeah.
and I think I explained that to your chief of staff earlier, that they initially had indicated that, and we came back with that language, and that language is acceptable. So,
Okay, so your handwriting is out. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so,
they're gonna go along with long-term?
yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going, just reading your handwriting. And then you're gonna go with 39 million, but you said it's gonna cost 36.
So,
What's that? Has that changed too?
no, so the initial thought was 36 to 37 million. As we've continued to run the numbers, we wanted to put 39 just as as we typically do, to put in contingency on this as well, so that we don't want to ultimately go over. But that's why we said in the range of, so that ultimately, whether it comes in, if it comes in a little bit below that, that we're not held to that 39 number.
Okay. Can you explain field replacement on
Yeah,
here? It's
so
one of the
field-
items.
Yes, sure, absolutely. So field replacement, as we were talking to the team and identified in the facility condition assessment, it talks about field replacement. I think the team has indicated that the current field is old by NFL standards. From our perspective, I think we replaced the field back in 2018. We replaced the turf back in 2018. So there's a question now about what type of field moving forward is appropriate, and the timing for replacing that. There have been some changes in field technology in the NFL in terms of the type of turf, the fibers associated with the turf, et cetera. So the idea would be during the course of this pre-renovation project period, to look at what makes sense moving forward and what is the timing for that. So we know, and as I said, we've replaced field turf in the past, we've replaced fields in the past. The question here would just be what makes sense and what is the timing for that?
Okay, so on here, you have it as Exhibit B. Would that be included in the 37 or 39 million dollars, or that would be additional?
A study to assess the scope and the timing of the field
Okay,
replacement.
so that'd be study instead of, okay, so that would be studying, and then there'll be another cost once we know what the numbers are.
Well, once we know what the numbers are, and if it comes back that something is urgent and needs to be replaced, then we would consider that. If it comes back and says that the field is good for several more years, we look at that as well. So that's the purpose of identifying it like that in the matrix there.
Okay, well, my concern is the process of how we gonna move. The piecemealing is fine before we had a contract get ready to expire. So I'm for these items, but I wanna not have a whole lot of piecemealing at a time where we're getting ready to go to an expired contract. And many people are asking us, where are we at? What are we doing? All that kind of thing. So I'm concerned about the timing. I'm also concerned, again, about how this was presented in a time in the same fund, and we could have done both. And I think that was a sad moment that we missed. And then also making sure that whatever we give the credit to whatever taxpayer dollars we have put into this, so we're not relegated down to this amount, because we every week or every other week, we're voting on something. But we have to be very careful on the piecemealing at a time when we don't have a long-term contract on the table. And I want to keep all tools available when we go into a negotiation. I don't want to go into negotiation, we done paid up everything, and we ain't got nothing left to negotiate with. So I am concerned about the piecemeal approach. So those are my concerns, not necessarily, we understand in the agreement, we've got to do upgrades. We don't want the place to be falling apart, and because we have been investing, has not fallen apart according to the presentation that was made to us. But I don't want these things in vacuums, because all of them connect in some kind of way. And so I like to look at them in a holistic approach. With that, I open up Vice President Treehouse.
Thank you. Thanks for this report, Jeff. We've been talking about this for a while, and I appreciate it coming before the board today so that we can get a better handle on the dollar amounts, what the projects are, and the timing for the projects. So I just want to frame this so that I make sure that I understand what we're doing here. So the 490 million of work needs to be done, it says by 2042, and that is by way of the facility condition assessment that was done by Gensler. And so that's been in front of us for a while. What we don't have is the master plan. That is still not in front of us. And I share the frustration of the timing on that. However, we know that we've got at least 490 million of capital work potentially that needs to be done on the stadium. And so you are carving out some of the projects from that assessment, years 1 to 5, you said. So the most relevant, I guess, or the things that we need to do most quickly, and peeled out some of those projects so that we can get moving on some of the areas that have been identified as things that we need to do to preserve the infrastructure so that we continue to have a stadium that is in good condition for not only the team, but the fans that come, and something that we can be proud of, and something that's to our benefit as we enter into these long-term negotiations with the Bengals. So what strikes me so much about this presentation, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is the team's portion of commitment here. So we've got a financial commitment from the team. It states that they have put in $32 million over the last 18 months. Can you tell me, I don't know if you kind of alluded to this, has there been a time where the team has put in $32 million?
Not, Commissioner, not that I'm aware of. I can't say that I track every single project down there, and certainly some of this precedes my time, but I don't believe that there's been a time when that much has been put in this short period of time.
So to me, this signals a different kind of relationship between the team and the county, where the team is part of the financial stack when it comes to doing these kinds of upgrades to the stadium. And we have been talking about this ever since we've started to talk about the negotiations in general and the lease in general, where this commission wants a financial stack where the entire burden of the financing of all this infrastructure work isn't entirely on the taxpayers, but rather shared by the team, by the state, by the NFL, by other partners. And so from my vantage point, this is a bit of a roadmap, I hope, as to what we can expect the attitude of the team to be by way of their participation in the financial stack. Because if they're in for $32 million over the last 18 months, we're in for, it's a range from 36 to 39 million. We've got nearly a 50-50 split here, where the county is doing a little bit more, but it's a significant split, and the Bengals have a significant portion of that split. So I find this to be a very optimistic report by way of how we can move forward with the team, how there is some acknowledgement that the team needs to participate in the financial stack when it comes to getting this stadium up to grade with the number of investments that we're going to have to make. I expect and I hope that we will have additional partners as we move forward, especially by way of the state of Ohio. But to me, this is a good sign that the team is acknowledging their responsibility here, the relationship to the financial stack, and that the county is doing our part, but so is the team. So that's, so we've studied this a number of times, and so I'm ready to vote on this on Thursday. But to me, this is a rather optimistic way to enter into what we need, in the timing here, as has been described to me, is that some of this stuff, we've got these windows of time when the team's not playing in the stadium. And so those are the times at which we need to do some of these major projects because they take a while. And so we've got these windows every year where we need to do some of this work. And so we need to move a significant chunk of work from the facility assessment into next spring. And that's why we're sitting here talking about this at all, is because, this is simply a timing issue when we know we've got some significant investments in front of us, and we're trying to start, chipping away at that in conjunction with the team. So I appreciate the report, and I appreciate the analysis from the administration. Thank you.
Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you. I've also been doing quite a bit of research on this specific issue. Just a couple comments. Some of the improvements, of course, have been agreed upon from our or lease that we've had, that we're obligated to do some of the improvements. Other ones have been done, as we have on our paperwork. Exhibit A, the 32 million were done, of course, by the Bengals, and Exhibit B that we're looking at doing would be in collaboration with the needs of the stadium. But I wanted to make it very clear for me what stands out on item 7. It sounds like a little word, but it's a big word for me. It says, since 2022, the team invested as a sole cost approximately 32 million. I would like to take out since they invested. And the reason why I'd say that is that sounds conditional. In other words, I don't want to be put in a situation where if the team goes out and their pockets are maybe a little bigger than ours or whatever, that they go out and they decide they want to spend 50 million on something else and expect us to match that even half at 50-50. I don't want an expectation because of what they've spent that they expect us to spend that amount. So no one told them to spend 32 million. They decided that's how far they were going to go, but they may go to 50 million, like I said, the next time, and expect us to match that. So I would like for us in item 7 just to put in 2022, the team invested 32, not since they invested, we're investing. And as I said, I've investigated this, researched all of this, and this is something that has to be done. Improvements need to be made, and I think it's a reasonable agreement, memorandum of understanding that I would be comfortable with. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. I would like to get a accounting for what the taxpayers have put into this stadium. I think it's very important that the taxpayers of Hamilton County are recognized because without their vote, their tax, we wouldn't be doing this. And we're at and it's got to be a high number if we're doing 96% of the cost is on the taxpayers. So I don't want to minimize our investment to just this part. There's been a lot of investments over the years to get us here, and I think that should be acknowledged. And again, my timing issue was not holding it up. I wanted it earlier. It should have been presented along with the 30% so that we could look at how can we creatively stretch the dollars. That's what I'm trying to do. See if we can, and then when you said we're going to take a note out, that's a bond, that's like going to the bank or what have you, which would free up some of the liquidity cash that maybe we could have done a little bit more for the homeowners. But I would just like to, I have no problem with taking the cents, and I think that's a good comment. But I also think having some context of what the taxpayers have done in terms of investing in this, because we vote every week without this. I mean, every week we got something on the calendar to vote for something over at the Paycor Stadium. So this board has been voting, and I think, and boards before us. And I just would like to have that acknowledged in the agreement.
Commissioners, if I could just quickly, on the subject of, and I appreciate the comments about the financing strategy, I just want to clarify that in terms of bringing this forward in the property tax rebate, as we're talking about bonding this or notes, et cetera, nothing in terms of, if we go back and revisit the PTR, deciding to do a note or a bond for this wouldn't free up any additional cash to provide a higher PTR. So the recommendation that was made regarding the PTR assumed all existing liabilities in the stadium fund, be it debt service, be it operations and maintenance of the two stadiums, the pilot payment for Cincinnati Public Schools. This adds another element to the debt service. It adds an incremental more to the debt service. If we, I think, just to put another example for it, if I were coming forward saying that recommend to do this and to pay all of it in cash out of this year's stadium fund, that would be saying, hey, you're really crunching the ability for other things like PTR to be paid. But to say we're going to issue a bond, that's not a whole lot different than what we already brought to the board. The reasons for keeping the reserve balance in the PTR and the stadium fund still are the same as they were before, and that is making sure that there is a firewall between this fund and the general fund, making sure that there's a reserve balance there appropriately for the needs of that fund, et cetera. But I just want to clarify, and I'm happy to go through it in more detail.
Yeah, I want to, because I did run this by some other financial folks, and they indicated it could be done. So I know you have your process you put in place years ago before I got here, and we kind of want to stick to that process before I got here. But I want some folks that are looking and saying we can be a little more creative. In fact, we don't have to do this now if we didn't want to, but we would do something. But nothing in there said we got to do that today. There's nothing in the law said we got to do this today. This is something we're going to choose to do. There's nothing in the contract that said it has to be done today. There's nothing binding. We're about to bind ourselves, but there's nothing currently binding. That's why we're going to amend the MOU to bind ourselves with these new dates, because it's not in there with those dates. So, you know, I know that you have certain things and people got it going, but we want to be open to some new ways. We don't want to do the Bengal Stadium like we did the last time either. We want to do some new stuff. We don't want to build a stadium with no inclusion. We don't want to build have a stadium with 96% on the backs of the taxpayers. So we can't go in, we had a firewall and we built it. Whatever we built, take it down right now and put all options on the table. And how do we get this 96% off the backs? You showed some photos, and I think it's great. But 32 million is great, but I also saw some advertisers on those photos. If you look, I don't know if they were, unfortunately, our stuff, we can't get no advertiser. I can't get no advertiser to pay for our $32 million investment. No sponsorships. We got to pay for it. And the taxpayers, according to this, you'll be signing on behalf of the taxpayers of Hamilton County and binding them with this. So I just want to put on the table that I want the process, of course, we want to be open, but we got to do it in a way where the taxpayers got a time to even negotiate. And I'm saying this, I'm not for all these behind the curtain negotiations. I want out in front so the people can have some input. They can't have no input. It's too late now. They can't have nothing here. I mean, it's too late. So yeah, you showed me some, but I didn't get I just getting the MOU. I don't want to say I had no MOU for a whole month or 2 months. I did not have no 2 months of an MOU. And the MOU is when the rubber meets the road, not the conversations. So, and even the MOU is not on the document. We got a PowerPoint on there. We don't have the MOU where everybody can read it and go along with us. So I just wanted to point that out at the timing. I will support this, but this piecemeal stuff got to stop. We got to now deal with the big contract, the big elephant in the room, and we're going to need everything we have to go to the table to get a partnership, because we are at 96%. Y'all know I love the Bengals. I've been a fan forever, but we're at 96%. They're at 4%, and we jump up and say, we want to give them a round of applause, 50-50 on this. We got to call out, it's a hole that we got to climb out of, so we got a tough thing to do. But this one I will support. I just hope that the next one comes with the bigger thing in place, which is what are we going to do next if we're going to have a deal? I hope we can. And what's our process so we can get to the public. Here's our process. We're going to work with the Bengals. We're going to do it this way. We're going to have these dates so everybody can be kind of following us and be a part of that negotiation, so we can get a win for the citizens and a win for the Bengals. But I don't want something just one way and the citizens, they ain't got nothing. We got to have a win-win. And I think we can get there, but we got to have the process laid out quickly so that even the Bengals know what we're doing as well as the taxpayers. So those are my comments. Commissioner Dumas, you got a comment?
Yeah, I had a couple comments. The 96% that the residents have been paying through the agreement, we were all shocked that it was 96% for residents. So that is completely out of the window for our board as far as I'm concerned, and I think as far as my colleagues are. So that will not even be on the table. So I just want to make sure that people that are listening, that we saw it, you saw it, and it won't happen again. Or we will not negotiate. And as you talk about negotiation, there are no negotiations going on right now. So I just want to make it real clear, we have not started any negotiations, but really want you to know that we thought it was absurd. I thought it was absurd that it was that much for our taxpayers. So that will not even be on the table.
Well, I do have to say, there are meetings happening. There are negotiation meetings. So they are talking about these issues. So every time I come out with something, they would say, let me tell you, that ain't true. It is true. They are talking about these subject matters.
Talking is a little different than negotiating.
Well, that's how they came out with this.
So
I mean,
when we look at the lease, that's what I am talking about as it relates to negotiation.
Well, the lawyers are here. Do y'all want to come up? Are we talking to them, the Bengals?
Because they don't even know where we are right now.
Are we talking to the Bengals? Because he had to talk to them to tell them not to put this in the big leagues.
I'll answer that question directly. We're certainly, we talk to the Bengals regularly. We are not talking to them substantively about a long-term lease or the long-term renovation plan and the deal points around that. This is an item that we started talking to them about several months ago. Again, as we recognized that we were probably not going to be in a position right now to start talking about the long-term deal points, but that we wanted to make sure that we had a strategy for keeping the stadium moving forward from a technology and infrastructure perspective, so that when we did start those discussions and we got to the end of those discussions, that we didn't miss that construction season. And had it not been for the investments that the team had made, we would not be recommending a similar type investment. So just to answer the question.
Well, the question is, when will we start? Because we're supposed to get a report. We're in December. Instead, we're getting this piecemeal approach. When will we start? Because I know we're not allowed to talk about our executive sessions, and that's what puts me in a little bind right now. But when will we start?
As I said earlier,
tell the people what day.
I don't know that I can tell you a day, but as I said in the presentation, we'd be looking to start in earnest discussions on the long-term, both renovation plan and long-term lease early next year.
All righty. Well, thank you. Okay, now we get ready to go to executive session. Aren't we? Don't we have an executive session? Yeah, so we can't talk about executive session, so I don't want to get in trouble. But we are moving to go to an executive session, and I think it's 121.22. Talk about employment. G1? Okay, thank you. I didn't have it in front of me. All right, motion to go into it.
Second.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse? Yes. Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.